Welcome to the Perfect Blend podcast.
My name is Sara.
And my name is Shenelle. We'll be serving you the perfect blend of beauty, skincare, overall wellness ideas, and discussion. We'll just sit back, relax, and talk shit about life, just like girlfriends should. Now let's get back to it. You're telling them that they look bad, or why did you wear so much? Bitch,
no.
Like, we don't need your extra comments. People who wear makeup because they want to, and it makes them feel good. They're not doing it necessarily for the attention they're going to be getting from their looks. They're doing it because that's what they want to do.
Exactly.
What makes their soul sing. Okay.
Let me come in right quick with this. So I'm going to spin it back to what Miranda said, and then I'm going to bring it back to what Shenelle said. So I think, so what Miranda was saying about how, I feel like what I want to say is like societal norms. People think, okay, it's not normal to wear this this makeup that you're wearing this much. Like if we're going out to dinner, why are you wearing this much makeup? Where are you going to wear this much makeup, right? And there's this societal norm that that it's like, you don't really have to put in that much effort. But it's like, it's not, I'm not doing it for you.
No.
I'm doing it
because I wanted to do it. Yeah.
You know? And it's like, at the end of the day, what Miranda said was so important. And I really want to make a point about this. It's because a lot of times people will say things like that because they are coming from insecurity, what Miranda was saying. It's like they're feeling some type of way that, oh my God, why does she look like that? Why don't I look like that?
Right.
And it's like, but you know what's the thing that's so, it's so negative is that when someone says that to you and they say, oh, why are you wearing that makeup? Then you start to feel some type of way, right?
Yes.
You start to be like, is there something wrong with me? Why am I wearing makeup? And then you start to second guess yourself. You start to question yourself and your intention. And it's like, no. Don't let that person win, because that person is trying to put their insecurities onto you, and they're trying to ruin your positivity and your livelihood. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not so much as to that extent, but it's like, still, you want to be happy. Like,
they're bringing you down because they're in a negative space. They're bringing you down to their negative space. Exactly. It's not necessarily like you don't deserve to be put in that mindset. If you weren't there, who knows? You could have been doing your makeup because you were in a negative space, and this person just making you feel more negative.
Exactly.
100%. Misery loves company, and I think people, when they hear negative feedback, and it's so like us as women, or everybody, but like, you know, us as women, we like internalize it. I can remember, like, you know, I feel like we remember the nastiest thing someone said about us, but like we can get the most beautiful compliment, and it's like in one ear out the other sometimes.
Right.
But like the negativity you'll hold on to, and it's just I don't think sometimes when people say those things, they don't realize the lasting impact it has. And it's just like going back to old school. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say
anything at all. Exactly.
Right.
That's why.
That. All right, go ahead, Shana.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's why, like, if I see someone and their hair looks good, I'll be like, "Hey, girl, your hair looks great," or I'm like, "Oh, I love your shoes."
Like, I'm always compliment, right?
That's why I'm always like, I'm gonna always like, if I'm out, I'm gonna try to compliment one person.
Oh, that's such a good thing to think of. I love that.
That person could have been having a terrible day, and that comment just probably like made them feel a little bit better about themselves. So I always think about it like that. And I always think about like when people compliment me as well, I'm always like, man, that was so nice. They didn't have to say compliment me. They didn't have to say like approach me and say something nice to me. So I'm like, you know what? I like the way I felt when that person did like complimented me. I'm going to make sure I make it a point to compliment at least one person.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's such a lovely way to look at it, Shenelle. And like, it takes 5 seconds out of your entire day to be like, I love that lipstick color, or I love, like you're saying, I love your shoes. And like, you just probably made that you might not know, but like you were saying, if they're having a bad morning, you could have totally just turned their day around for 5 seconds. 5 seconds of positivity.
Exactly. I just think like we live in a world right now where there's so much negative things out. Like, you turn on the TV, it's negative. You turn on the radio, it's negative. You go online, because a lot of people are online. Almost everybody's online. You do everything online now. You work, you go to school, you interact with your friends and family. online. So a lot of the information we're being fed right now is negative, and I feel like, you know, we have to try to be a little bit more positive, at least to one another, or if we're in a situation where we can address someone or talk to someone, we should try to be more positive, put more positive things out into the universe, and hopefully that will come back to you at some point.
Yeah. Sarah, you mentioned manifestation earlier, Sarah. So I completely, you know, I think that aligns so well when you put out like good vibes and you honestly just, you know, wish well for others. That does come back to you. And I think, like, Shenelle, you hit such a good point. Everything's online. One thing I am so grateful for, and I'm sure you guys will agree, I am so happy, as much as I'm in the social media industry, Instagram did not exist in my formative 13, 14, 15.
Yes.
And here. Oh
I'm so happy.
I can't imagine being, you know, like, you remember being 14 years old, like, you're so hard on yourself and like you're ready
and so impressionable.
So impressionable. And then you can go on your Instagram or your TikTok and you're seeing like Kylie Jenner or, like you said, like Charli D'Amelio, and they're looking a certain way and you're already like, I remember being 14.
You're already insecure.
And you're looking at these other girls and you're like, why don't I look like them? So I think, like, you know, it's even more so like to spread positivity in this time, especially the younger generation growing up with all this stuff bombarded at them. Being positive online is huge, and I think that's something that you said perfectly. So I think that was a great point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all, like, it's something that we all kind of forget about because, you know, so much is going on. Like, everybody is going through something, you know. And I think just trying to be positive always, like, nothing can go wrong from you being positive. Because if you're happy and you say something nice to somebody, that person's gonna smile at you, and it's like, wow, like, and that's already a positive thing that you're getting back from that person. Even if you're not getting another compliment, that smile also makes you smile. When someone smiles, you automatically smile because 100%. It just makes you smile, right? So that's why I feel like, you know, we should try to be that way and like put out positive energy into.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, Shenelle, in terms of the energy. I feel like that, like, when you put out positive energy, like, I feel like it resonates a lot longer and it like really makes an impact. And like, it's so interesting because you don't really know how much energy can affect you. So like we're saying, how like if you say one negative thing, that's gonna outweigh all of the positive things that you've ever heard or like that you've heard it, and that negative energy is gonna drop you down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's your energy. And it's like, you try your best to just have like neutral like energy in your soul, and sometimes it's inevitable, right? It's the world that we live in. People want to bring you down, but it's like, and the reason why I want to mention this as well is because it's I feel like I was living in an ideal world where I thought that everything that I could portray or that I could understand or that I can put out to the universe would be positive, but it's not the case. Like, if we're being realistic, there is going to be negativity in this world. It is going to not always be sunshines and unicorns and rainbows, unlike how I want to live my life. And that's what my friends say, like, Sarah, the sun does not shine out of your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, take a reality pill here. And I feel like as you get older, you understand that, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, there is negativity in this world, and it's how you deal with it. It's like, okay, we can be positive, we can portray positivity, but it's like, when you intake that negativity, how do you react? Do you react like, oh my God, like, because for me, I feel like, and this is just my personality, I guess, but I tend to take things really personally, and I'm trying to really work on that, because not everything that people say to you is actually with you in mind, in terms of like, it's not personal. It's like, I'm telling you because I care about you and I want to make you a better person, or I want to make this constructive criticism. And it's like, how do you take that and be like, you know what, thank you so much for taking the energy to actually tell me this. Do you know what I'm saying? Oftentimes we'll be like, bitch, what's your problem? Like, and then you get defensive, right? And you're like, what is this energy about? Why are you becoming this way, right? And it's like, for me, I feel like it's a little bit more deep rooted. I'll just leave it at that. But I think it's a little bit more deep rooted where I'm trying to actually fix those things. And it's like a thing that I'm working on every single day. It's not an easy task. I won't lie.
No, it's not
easy, but it's something that I feel like a lot of women, and not only women, a lot of people in this world are dealing with. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in and just say that.
No, I mean, it all comes together, right? All of that, it comes together because, again, you know what that person is going through, like you said, you're working on things personally, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone is being negative towards you, this is going to make you feel more down on yourself about the things that you're trying to fix about yourself. So I don't get anything positive out of being negative. And again, like you said, there are some times I'm like, I'm very opinionated. I have a lot of things to say. And sometimes I realize, like, you know what, maybe that was hurtful. Maybe what I said was hurtful. Sometimes I'm like, I want to comment and say things that I'm like, you know what? Mm-hmm. I'm not about to make this person's day worse because everybody in the comments is roasting this person. So maybe I'll like a few comments and leave it at that instead of commenting and saying something that's going to make this person feel worse about themselves. That's how I try to say it. Or, you know, maybe keep my comment to myself. Right. Or say it, talk about it with a friend instead of putting that on that person. Because, again, that person doesn't deserve, even if they do something completely stupid and it's not something I would do, they don't deserve to be talked to like that by everybody on the internet.
1,000%.
It's like a gang mentality, right?
Yeah.
Once you see someone else doing it, you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just hop in, right? But it's like, no, you can be that one person that actually does the opposite and brings light to that person instead.
Exactly. Right? So, like, for example, you know that girl, the Catch Me Outside girl?
Yes.
From Dr. Phil. Mm-hmm. So she raps. She's a rapper.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not really interested in her music or anything that she has to do, right? Mm-hmm. But some of her music is it's a bop, right? Like if it played, I'd be like, oh, that's that girl. Okay, that's nice. But everybody hates on her because she's that Catch Me Outside girl, right? She's 17. She does not deserve to be bullied like this.
And I think she
on
was
the internet
when this
at the time she was 13, but now she's 17 and she's still being bullied relentlessly online. And it's like, nobody deserves it. She's 17. She's still learning. She doesn't know anything. No. You know what I mean? So for us, and it's a lot of times it's adults too, right? So it's like all these adults saying all these bad things or telling her to go kill herself and things like that. That is not conducive. That is not teaching her anything. That is not helping her in any way. Right. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe if we were more supportive of her, she would be more inclined to improve on herself and be a better person. Who knows, right? But we all can't be ganging up on somebody just because, you know, she was on Dr. Phil saying, catch me outside, you know? So, and I think a lot of that too is because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't like this girl because she did that 4 years ago.
Imagine being judged for something you did at 13 years old, like still.
Right?
And you're 17.
And you're still being judged what you did. Or like even like, you know, at 17 being judged at 20, like I couldn't imagine that. You know? And I think people forget that. I think a lot of people, like you said, that say these nasty comments, Shenelle, I think they completely forgot what it was like to be 13 or 17.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, we can say all of those things because we were on social media when we were 10 and 13 and 15. Social media wasn't like this, you know. Twitter didn't even, I think Twitter came out like maybe my last year of high school, and I didn't get an actual Twitter account until I was like 21. Mm-hmm. And I didn't use it consistently. So even things that I said at 21, that I'm not that person anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, what I said then is not how I feel or what I think now, right? So to be held to that doesn't make sense.
No, and I think a lot of people, especially like right now, like cancel culture being so big. I was about
to say that.
Right.
Thank you.
Me too.
You know, don't get me wrong. Like, I think, you know, some people do things and they need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
1,000%. But then I also think, like, on the flip side, I look back at 19, 21-year-old me, and like I did some pretty silly things back then, and I would really hope that the people that meet me now don't hold me accountable for my actions back then. And if they are going to bring them up, let me explain, let me apologize.
Right. Or let me show you that I've evolved. Right. Because again, I'm not who I was when I was 21. I'm not that same girl.
I feel like it's like people don't realize that people change. We change every single day. Like if you didn't change, there would be something wrong with you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
grow and you change.
That same person from however many years, and there's something off. Mm-hmm. Like people have to realize that each year you should be progressing to become a better person, right?
Exactly.
Like, the person that I am today is so much different than the person that I was however many years ago, and I thank God for that, honestly.
Right.
Like thank goodness, because like I don't want to be the same person that I was years ago, and I'm sure that person that is being canceled doesn't want to be that person either, you know, like that's why they're not that person, you know.
And I think cancel culture it's toxic in itself, because cancel culture, I understand canceling somebody because they did something today and it was wrong today. But if I did something 10 years ago, you can't cancel me now for that, because that was 10 years ago. You can't go back into history and be like, you know what? I'm going to cancel Julius Caesar because he enslaved the Egyptians. Like, you can't do that. Like, it's too late. You know what I mean? Like, we've evolved, we've moved. Like, obviously what they're saying now isn't consistent with what they were saying then. So how can we hold that person accountable for what they did in the past if that is not how they feel, or that's not their ideology now? That doesn't make sense.
I completely agree with you. If you're seeing a person, you know, back then act a certain way, but you meet them now and they've changed, they've evolved, and they've grown, you have to hold them to the standard today. You can't hold them to today's standard 10 years ago.
Right. Exactly. Like, if people bring it up, like, yeah, they should. I agree. They should address it and be like, you know what? I'm not that person anymore. And then once they address it, that's it. It's done. We leave it at that. We move on.
One thing I want to mention with regards to cancel culture that really bothers me, and it might be because of my education, because I took criminology in university, and I'm very much like, I really appreciate the law and why we have it. I think it's like a really like basic foundational like concept for our society in order for it to run properly.
Right.
And for me, one thing that really, really bothers me is that oftentimes when it's cancel culture, it will be like name calling, or like it will be like, you did this, and it's like, okay, but where's the due process? If it was really something that was illegal or criminal, where's the paperwork? Like, let's go to court then. Like, let's prove this, right? Like, and it's like, I can't stand when it's like, okay, someone is making themselves out to be a victim, and it's like, am I just basing it? Am I just believing you based off of your word? Where's your show me the proof? Like, I need to see substance. I need to see there's some process here that we can come to this conclusion. Because if you're just pointing the finger at that person, I think to myself, what if I was that person?
Exactly.
What if someone was accusing me of these things and they never happened, for instance?
Exactly.
Then you're completely canceling someone's livelihood, and they might, you know, God forbid whatever happens, but something could happen to that person, and then you're like, oh well, I decided to ruin someone's life. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much deeper than just like the surface in terms of canceling someone. It's not just canceling someone. It's like you're ruining their way of sustaining themselves, of surviving, right? Like, there's such a deep-rooted problem there, I find.
It is. I think because a lot of times people are, for example, let's take for example everything that happened with James Charles, right? He was a teenager, and these adults were airing out all of this information that wasn't. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know, but apparently some of the information wasn't true, and this poor kid, essentially, he was a kid, being canceled, and he grew up on the internet. His livelihood is the internet. You know what I mean? Like, And when you're so young, right, a lot of people feel like, you know, oh my gosh, it's so bad, and they do something, they do something super permanent and super you know, catastrophic for a temporary problem. And it's like, you don't understand, like, mental health is at an all-time high now, especially with younger people because of social media. And then us going and digging up all the shit they said 5 years ago when they were 10, we're using that against them now. Like, that is so toxic and absurd for us to hold people to standards that they're not, or hold things against them that they don't even believe in anymore.
Right.
There's things I've said on Twitter as a 21-year-old that I don't believe it. I don't agree with anymore. If I could go back and delete all of that shit, I would. But Twitter won't give me access to that old account. So guess what? It's still there.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. And like, I think a lot, I try to preach this to like my younger cousins or things like that. And I really try to nail home, like, listen guys, like, it's on the internet forever. And like, some of them will be like, no, I deleted that. And I'm like, there's no such thing as deleting on the internet.
Yeah,
like,
there isn't.
Trust me, as like someone that's grown up in the internet era, like, there's always receipts. There's always someone that can find it. There's always someone that can go through the back end. So like, if you wouldn't show it to like your grandmother, like, don't
do it.
Like, there's been so many times I posted stuff I really, you know, thinking back, like, am I dumb? Because you think, like, as we said earlier, you're 19, you're invincible, it will never happen to me. And like, you're at 27 and hindsight's 2020, and you're kind of like, could have made some better choices, like, and not documented them.
Exactly. Like, I try to tell my nephew, he wants to be in the NBA, right? And like, he's 14, so everything he says is really ignorant. He's a 14-year-old boy. Of course, everything he says is gonna be ignorant. Every 14-year-old boy says ignorant, stupid shit, and you're like, please don't say that. And I'm always like, I always tell him, I'm like, listen, all right, you don't want people digging up all of this stuff later when you're in the NBA, and then you get canceled and you lose your endorsements and all of that stuff. You don't want that to happen to you. So if you're not sure if it's problematic or if it's something that can get you canceled, don't say it. Or just talk about it at home with your brother or with us. But I'm always gonna be like, you can't say that. Like, don't say that. What you said was really funny, but not everybody's gonna find it funny.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day, I think it also is based on guidance, right? Your family is very lucky to have you, that you have a role model or someone to look up to say, you know, this is not good, like, this is something that you should think about, or this is something that you shouldn't say, right? But I feel like a lot of people don't have that guidance, and then at the end of the day they do it and they're like, well, shit, I wish I had someone to tell me that, right?
And yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like that all the time, because like, when we were younger, you know, our parents were like, oh, it's the internet. They're like, whatever, like, how much trouble could you get into on the internet? Like, the only thing they were really worried about is chat rooms, because like, all those child predators, that was the only thing. If I was like, oh, I'm on MSN with my friends, that's it. But you don't know, like, on MSN, like, you could be sharing pictures of people that, you know, this girl may have sent, you know, a nude to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend showed his friends, and then they sent it to the whole school, and now it's on MSN, and everybody's getting sent to everybody on MSN. It's like, you know what I mean? But and I think another thing is too, is like, I feel like parents are a little bit too busy to monitor what kids are doing on the internet, so it's making it harder to catch these things. And then also, there's people who have like an addiction to the internet, period. Like, they can't go like a day or a couple of hours without being on the internet, which is crazy because everything is connected to the internet. Like, I have a Kindle. It's, you just read your books on it. That is connected to the internet. Like, everything, your watch is connected to the internet. Your headphones can be connected to the internet. Your phone is connected to the internet. Almost everything. You can be in your house and you have security that's connected to the internet. Everything, almost everything is connected to the internet. It's so hard to monitor what your kids or, you know, other people are, or your loved ones are doing on the internet,
Yeah.
especially kids. Like, I always feel bad for kids. I'm always like, oh my gosh, like, I hope my like nieces and nephews aren't being bullied on the internet, because I will beat up a kid. I will beat up a kid.
Well, that's the thing, right? In high school, and I'm not sure if you guys had this, but in high school, like, there was a couple of instances where there was like girls that had sent nudes to their boyfriends, and then their boyfriends sent it to the whole school, right? Like, and it's like,
yeah,
you look in hindsight, like, as for myself, I was in high school when I found this out, right? And I was like, I would never ever do that. But it's like, you don't know those consequences at
right.
that.
You don't know that that's something that would happen.
Exactly.
Right.
And you think, oh, this is my boyfriend, he would never do this to me, right?
Right. And it's like,
crazy.
boys are dumb. Boys are dumb.
Yep.
Like,
Especially at that age.
especially a teenage boy. Oh, that is the dumbest person you will
Right.
ever meet. I've never met.
Like, it stems back to, like, you know, being in high school and thinking, once again, you're invincible, it'll never happen to me. And it's, you know, that's the one thing I think we all try to nail into the heads of the younger generation. It's like, it could happen to you, and unfortunately it can happen to you.
Exactly.
I mean, you hope and you pray and you do your best and you teach them and you explain, but I feel like kids like never really understand until they see it happen to someone else firsthand, like a friend, or it happens to them.
Yeah.
Like, again, so when I was in high school, like, we had cell phones that took pictures, but like, it was like the flip phone, so it was like really pixel, like you couldn't really see it too well, but we did have disposable cameras and we would develop pictures. So there was a lot of like physical evidence pictures, like getting shown, and like, you know, copies being made and things like that.
Wow. That's insane.
So, yeah, it's insane. Like, imagine, like, that's crazy. I don't think, like, I'm glad, like, I always say, like, I'm glad I grew up where the internet wasn't this massive, because I got to experience like childhood. I used to play outside with my friends. You know what I mean? I used to spend majority of my day outside.
Yeah.
And I would come inside to eat and maybe watch a show or two and then go to my bed.
Yeah. That's how it was.
Kids nowadays, they're inside all day playing video games or on the internet or sleeping and watching stuff on Netflix. Like, there's so much things for them to do that like hinder them from actually making connections with people in person.
Totally.
So true.
And I think now it's even worse because of COVID, right? Like, they're forced to stay inside. So it's like they have to rely on these you know, technologies because they can't go outside and chill with their friends. Like, it's hard these times, man.
It is. I'm always like, oh my gosh, when I have kids, I'm not like, I'm gonna force them to go outside. They're gonna be mad at me, but they're going outside. Like, I remember it would be freezing outside, like snowing, blizzard, and I'm putting on my snow pants, my boots to go play outside. Like, kids don't do that anymore. Like, I don't see kids on my street playing outside.
No, it's like not a thing, and it's so different now. And
right,
I completely agree with you. I'm happy that we grew up in a time where like jump rope and hopscotch and building snow forts, like that was a thing. And like my sister who's a teacher, and Sarah, you said it perfectly, even more so now with COVID, you see these kids not interacting. And my sister said, like, you know, she understands why online learning has to be a thing right now, but you know, it does affect children growing up emotionally.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, just even like sitting next to someone in class who isn't your friend, but you have to learn how to sit beside someone and do your work and not like
and
just
talk to them and interact with them,
even though you're not friends with them. Just things like that we, you know, we probably took for granted growing up. Like these kids are experiencing, like just sitting in a group with kids at school, like that's just not a thing anymore, and that's so crazy for me to even like fathom.
It's so true. Like, it's so true. Like, I think about like every class that I went to, I had friends. Like, every class I would make new friends, and those would be my friends for the whole year. And then next year, the friends that are in my class, if I don't have my friends in my class, it's like, fine, whatever, like I'm gonna miss you, but like I'll see you at recess. But I'd make new friends, And then even in high school, like the same thing, like you make new friends in every class. And I don't think, like, I think they do that to an extent, but at the same time, they're like, well, I could just go home and talk to the friends that I have online. And also, I think it's also like, for example, when we were in high school, if someone liked you, they would come up and approach you and talk to you and ask you out, right? Now people are scared to go and like ask people out and talk to them. And it's like, it's so weird. Like, I think about like shows from like the 90s, and it's like, you know, someone would be grocery shopping and someone would be like, hey, you know, you're really cute. Like, I'd like to take you out on a date. That doesn't happen now. It's like, oh, Tinder, I'm looking for a date. Or Bumble, swipe here. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like all of that relationship building, like building bonds with people, that's all gone now because of the internet, right? Like people fear rejection, right? So back in the day, you would have to deal with it. Like if you got rejected, it's like, all right, whatever. But now, because it's like, oh, I got rejected by this person, okay, fine, whatever, I'm going on to the next one, right? It makes it harder for people to like make genuine connections because like we're all glued to some sort of device that feeds us false or different realities.
I think
that we have to really cope or deal with.
It goes so much deeper than that, because I feel like now with everything being online is that you have so many options, right?
Yeah,
so many options, and you're like, well, if this guy isn't exactly what I want, for instance, I have X
30 other people
that are on my phone that I'm ready to, you know,
talk to.
And it's like, I feel like that's also very detrimental to like relationship, like maintaining relationships. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's why a lot of people are into these situationships. So it's like, oh, we hang out, we talk, we sleep together, we do all of the shits, but you're not my girlfriend and I'm not your boyfriend.
It's so weird now.
That is why. It's because social media and the internet has made it like so easy to like have your hands in kind of like everything.
Yeah, and not only that, I feel like it also affects marriage. Like that's why there's such a high divorce rate, right? Like
because they're getting
like, you know what, I'm not even gonna work on this. Like it's not worth it. I can just get someone else, right? And it's like, for me, I always think back to like our grandparents, right? Or even our great grandparents. Like they didn't have no options. Like when you married someone, it was like that person till the end. Like you're like, if we're together, so we're gonna work through this, whatever this is. Like we're gonna work through it and get through it. But now it's like there's not even the effort. The work isn't there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think
it's so true.
Like we live in such a like an instant gratification society where like if I'm having a fight with someone, if I'm not connecting, I can just slide into someone's DMs or like put a heart emoji and some guy can come message me, and now this guy's giving me attention because, you know, my friend's not treating me the way I want to be treated, instead of being like, hey, you know what, I don't like it when you do this, it hurts my feelings, this is what we need to talk about. It's just what's quicker, what's going to cause me instant gratification and cause less drama for me right now is to message another guy, which I think I was trying to explain that to my mom. I'm like, cheating now, like it's, you know, someone could completely be having a whole other life and it's so easy to hide it. Like you can run your screenshots and receipts and this and that, but like it's so much easier to find another person, to let them know of your situation, to have that person being like, it's a whole other mess, and it's scary. Like before, if you wanted to like have an affair with someone else, like you had to plan that stuff. You had to call their house phone. Like that was a thing.
Yeah.
Now you can have your own separate cell phone and be like, oh, it's my work phone, and use that. Or, you know, you can, it's just so much, there's so much more opportunities for infidelity, and there's so many resources for it. Like, remember that dating website, but it was called Ashley Madison, and it was for people who wanted to cheat, and I was like, what? And it's like they obviously had a market for it.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, the fact that came around, it's like Facebook for people that cheat. Yeah. And I'm like, real, like, why? Like, instead of like trying to fix the issue with the person that you are with and married to, like you're married, like you're in a contract with them, like a lifelong relationship contract with them. Why not work it out with that person and potentially like endanger my life and their life because I'm just too lazy to work on it and I want to sleep with other people.
1000%. And like I think we can all like put a disclaimer up here and be like, there's certain times where marriages don't work and you should exit.
Right.
And like that's that.
Yes.
We're not talking about those situations.
No, we're
talking about situations where you are not communicating with your partner out of pure laziness because you get more gratification having a fake Tinder account and swiping on that for someone to tell you you're pretty instead of telling your significant other, hi, I don't like this. That's the situation we're talking.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Brenda. Yes.
I just need anyone coming after us being like, no.
Like my parents definitely needed to divorce. Like, no, we're not talking about your parents, sweetie. We're talking about, all of the other people who are, instead of, because a lot of times people cheat because either they're missing something emotionally or they're missing something physically or, they had an argument, right? Because a lot of times, like, instead of addressing the issues, they're like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go and chill out and get some, like, calm down. And what's going to help me calm down? I'm going to go cheat. I'm going to go talk to this girl that I've been talking to for months and get my rocks off with her, and then I'll be fine. The problem won't be resolved, but I'll be fine.
I'll
be fine for the minute. I'll be good for now. And
that's
it's like
thing, people don't want to work through the hard stuff, right? Like
they
don't want to go through the trauma. They don't want to go through the hardships of like real life problems. You know what I mean? They're like, I'd rather not. I'd rather just mask this and go and have fun instead. Exactly. Just like Miranda was saying about the instant gratification. This is it. Like that's and to me it sort of makes me curious, back to the sociology, it makes me curious as to why humans are this way. Why do we have to have an Ashley Madison? What's up with our brains that we have to do that? Do you know what I mean? Like there has to have been something to have changed that, Right.
Yeah. I was reading something and it was like how certain people, like there's a cheating gene, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like the thing is, everybody could cheat. Everybody can. Everyone. It's just choosing not to.
Right. Exactly.
So it's not a cheating gene. Everybody has a cheating gene if that's the case. Because we can all cheat. We just all don't choose to. Like, so make it like, it's just like an excuse. Or it's like, I can't be monogamous. I wasn't meant to be monogamous.
Oh yeah, no. Mammals are that's my favorite one. Mammals, they're not meant to mate with one person for life. I'm like, you're not a giraffe, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're higher up on the chain of the command, so we have the social
exactly
this.
Right.
Exactly. So, but also, if that's how you feel, don't get into a relationship.
Right.
Don't get into a monogamous relationship.
Yes.
It's very simple.
Exactly.
But people like to have their cake and eat it too.
There you go.
That is the problem.
Ladies have noticed this because we're in our 20s. We're I like to say mid 20s, but here or there.
I'll take it.
But you see people getting engaged, and sometimes I've heard the flip of the side. It's like, well, we've been dating for 10 years, or we've been dating for 5 years, whatever. We've been dating for X number of years. It is what, like, it's just the next step, and it's like, or sometimes.
But do you want to?
Exactly. And sometimes I hear like, oh, I couldn't even imagine, like, I can't imagine like going back out dating. This is like, I couldn't, you know what I mean? They almost think like they're settling, like they've been dating for so long.
Yes.
It's supposed to happen. And I honestly get scared when I hear some women or even men talk about it. And like, I've heard of like, both sides of the story, and it's kind of like, okay, but let me just put this into perspective. You're what? Let's just say you're in your mid 30s. Okay. So you're willing to just get married and deal with whatever has to come, the long haul, instead of, if you don't feel it in your heart, being like, you know what, we had a good run, not meant to be, and maybe tomorrow you meet the person you're supposed to be with.
Exactly.
You can be blissfully happy. Like, I think a lot of people get confused too, that when they're in a relationship and it's, relationships, like, it's not always going to be roller coasters and fireworks. Like sometimes it's work,
Right.
sometimes it's a little bit like flatlined because your guys are going through stuff. But I think people confuse that and settling and just being comfortable, and like there's not even like a relationship there anymore. I think people get those confused, and then they end up doing the complete opposite, which is settling, getting married, and then down the line infidelity. And it's like a whole other cycle. But I feel that's like a whole other psychological, sociological question.
No, but I agree 100% because you hear that a lot, right? Because there's some people they meet and they're like, no, I know that this is the one, right? Or, and then there's sometimes it's like, you know, that I have to get married. I want to have kids, so I have to get married. And it's like, but you don't have to, right? Like so personally, if I get married, I get married. If I don't, I don't, right? But if I'm happy in my relationship and we choose, like it never happens, then I'm happy in my relationship and it never happens. You know what I mean? I don't have to be married to have kids. I don't have to be married to buy a house. I don't have to be married to do all of these things. If I'm happy, I'm happy, right? If I get married, I get married. If I don't, I don't. But as long as I'm happy, I don't care.
And I think a lot of people get stuck on those like titles or certain milestones, and they're totally disregarding that one thing you said was their happiness.
Right.
So they'd rather have the ring or the title or this instead of being like genuinely happy and like with someone that makes them happy, or being by themselves if that's what makes them happy.
Right. Exactly. And I think we're also in a day and age where it's like it's keeping up appearances all day, every day. Like everybody's like trying to have the nicest things and trying to have the most perfect relationship or be relationship goals. And it's like, bro, nobody's relationship goals, okay? Because what they're going through, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go through any of that shit.
No.
Right? But also somebody may not want to go through the shit that I'm going through, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, you can't put these people up on a pedestal. You have to figure out what is a healthy relationship for you and go with that and try to make that work for you. You can't always be looking up to other people's relationships because who is it? Everybody was like, oh my God, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're like gold. And this guy cheated on her. Like, she made a whole album about it.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want, like, we shouldn't be putting like all these couples up on pedestals and like trying to achieve what they have just because no relationship is perfect.
That's what's so hard about social media, though, is that in social media,
that's what you see,
and that goes.
And everybody's putting up like it's like a front, right? Right? Exactly. It's not like actually what's happening.
No one that I know, at least, puts things on social media that are truly their real lives. Like it's all. Let's put our best face forward and let's put what's the best, right? So like I feel like it's often misconstrued, and then you see just the best moments, but you don't really see the reality of things, right?
Exactly.
And that's why, like, me and my boyfriend, we don't post anything on our social medias with regards to each other because our relationship is just us. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about everyone else, and it's not for anyone else to comment on even. It's like we're living our lives for us, you know? Like, and that, I think that's also the difference between someone that lives on social media and really is addicted to it because they want to show it all off, right? Exactly. And then it's like, what happens when you guys break up and say he or she wants a different option? Now you have to say bye to all of those photos, and now people are like, they're talking.
Well, what happened, right?
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, and then the person who's posting all of this stuff is like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. It's none of your business. But actually, no, it kind of is our business now because you make it our business. Yeah. You put us in your business. So you can't just be deleting everything now. Like, we need to know the tea, sis. Like, let us know. Like, put it
now you're leaving us hanging. Now you're not going to post about this. Okay.
Right. Oh, so now you're not going to talk about it. Okay, that's okay, girl. That's fine. But, like, that's how I feel about it, too. Like, I always notice that, like, not the most successful couples, but the more grounded and the more down to earth and realistic couples don't really post each other because like my social media isn't about my relationship. It's about me. Like it's my social media. our social media. So what I post on my feed is about me. I'm not gonna post you or them or whoever it is. Like,
exactly.
And
it's so funny too, like Sarah, you said it perfectly. Like, I think a lot of people forget, like when you're scrolling, and I fall into the trap too, you kind of look, you're like, oh, you forget that it's like, it's curated content. You know what I mean? And my sister used to always make fun of me. She's like, if I had no idea who you were and I was creeping your page, I would think you traveled all the time. Like, because what do I post? I just post snapshots of me on vacation. And that's about it. Like, you would think like that's what I did for my day job, was travel with Michael. And it's like, no, I actually don't. Like, I work multiple jobs and I'm living with my parents. I'm not showing the realist. Like, you're just kind of showing this curated content that gives off this vibe. And I think as a person who like just shows a snapshot, I also have to remember when I'm consuming content, it's a snapshot.
It's a snapshot.
It's not real life, sweetie. Like, knock yourself down a few pegs and remind yourself that like it's literally nothing to get riled up over, to get envious over.
Exactly.
You're on your own journey like this. And you know what? If it's exactly what I see on social media, then all the best.
Good for you. Congrats. Yes. Exactly. Congrats, girl. You figured it out. But
write a book so I know what to do next. I don't know.
Right. I say the same thing. I'm always like, sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, like I want a Chanel purse. And I'm like, that's probably not even their purse. They probably like got it on consignment somewhere, or you know what I mean? Or maybe they don't have all of this money. They're just showing off for social media to make it look like they do. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people forget, you know, they do things to post on social media. They do things to have something to publish and show people like, oh, I am living large and in charge. And it's like, no, maybe you're not.
No.
You know? And I think that is another big issue with social media, is like, because we're seeing all of these lavish things and we're like, why can't we have this lavish lifestyle? Why can't we buy these Chanel purses or Gucci bags or Gucci shoes or all of this bullshit? And it's like, none of that matters, and these people don't even have those things. Like, this is just for social media.
1000%. And then sometimes too, I have to like rein it in a little bit more and be like, okay, this person that has that, you know, I don't know, that Valentino bag that I've been eyeing, how does that affect my life? Like, I have to kind of sit back and be like, okay, but if they have it, like, that doesn't affect me. And if I lucky enough, if I were to get one, is it going to really change everything in my life? Is this one?
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to get a little bit like metaphysical and think like that, but like sometimes you just got to scale it back. I know I have to, and just be like, okay, on the grand scheme of things, where does this place?
You also have to ask yourself questions like, is this bag going to pay my bills?
Right.
Is this bag going to put me up a class scale? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what is this really going to do for my life? Am I going to get a job opportunity from this bag? Am I going to get new friends? No. Like, it's like, ask yourself those questions. If you can say no, at the same time though, I don't
need it. It's a want, right?
And I feel like I don't want to speak too harshly on that, because I know some people really enjoy them and they create collections and whatnot. Like, right?
Thing, by all means, like, I love my shoes, and like that's my thing,
right?
But sometimes I need that, like,
right? That's okay, but it's like, but if it's those people that think, oh, I want to get this bag because it's really gonna make me seem like I have my shit together, or I'm more wealthy than I am, like, then that's where the problem lies, right? Like,
exactly.
If you can afford these bags and you really enjoy your collection, whatnot, do your thing, girl. But the thing is, it's those people that are competing. It's those competitive.
Yes.
And I think you said it perfectly too. Is this bag going to get me my job, get me new friends? And I think when like you kind of boil it down and you realize that maybe there's definitely a line of treating yourself and you really like it and you've been eyeing. Don't get me wrong, completely do that. But if
do that
for the wrong reasons, I think that's when you kind of have to scale back and be like, okay, let's, like you said, does this bag replace something, like my friends, give me a job? Is this a magic lamp that I don't know about?
Exactly. I always think about it like, if I see something that I want and I can't afford it, now I'll be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to work my ass off so that I can afford it. And then when I buy it, it's going to be an accomplishment for me. I reached a goal of mine.
And
there's so many other things that are more important before that. It's still there, but I'm working my way towards that to be able to get that for myself. And that's how I see it. And I don't think a lot of people see it like that, or kind of put things into perspective to be like, okay, like I can't afford this, so I'm not going to dwell on this person having it and me having it. Like I have to pay my rent. I have to take care of my kids. I have to do all of these things before I can be selfish and spend $10,000 on a purse or shoes, you know? And I think a lot of times, you know, we get lost in that. And again, social media runs our lives. And I feel like also it's good to like take a break sometimes.
1,000%.
You know? You have to do a social media break, because social media, we consume so much social media, and half of the things we consume, if we're like, you know, reading the news or anything like that, sometimes it's not true. And we're consuming information that isn't true, and we're spreading that information too, and it's just harmful all around. You need to take a break sometimes, guys.
You definitely do. It's and I think too, I know like for instance, I know people that will completely like delete, like they won't deactivate their accounts, but they'll delete their apps off their phone for like a week just so they don't have that urge to like go and check. Because I think we're all notorious. Like you're bored, what do? You open your Instagram, you open your Facebook. Like it's like a Twitch now that we have. And I think like doing that sometimes, even if it's just for a day, you're like, I'm not going to check my social channels. Sometimes I'll do this myself. I'll challenge myself, and like, surprise, surprise, I didn't miss anything. Like nothing shattering happened. The earth didn't end. I wasn't missing out on anything. Like, you know what I mean? I think we've kind of built it up that we need this kind of social media to survive. And like, I know it's counteractive because I'm in the business, but like taking a break, like more than beneficial for your mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it boils down to. It's about taking care of yourself, your mental health, right? As much as like we like being on social media, and it's a great tool for like growing your business and getting your name out there for those purposes, it's great for that. But you also have to think about it like, if I'm using this for work, then I want to think about this like as a job, right? I don't want it to consume my life. You know what I mean?
I think another thing, just and I think Miranda can say whether this is like productive or not, but I think like with regards to social media, it's like how you like work smart, don't work hard. So it's like you have to like, and this is something that I need to implement in my life, because I feel like oftentimes I do need to take a social media break because I'm so overwhelmed, because I'm like, I have to keep up with so many things. But I feel like it would be a game changer for me, at least, and for anyone that's listening, if you pre-schedule everything. So like, I don't even have to think about it. Like it just goes out.
It's already done.
I think that's a huge tool, is using a scheduling tool. And I think too, because you're like the podcast, your business, I think there's definitely time that we need to spend on social media, but it's giving yourself, like Shenelle was saying, if it's work, it's working hours. So you know what? My engagement time is when my peak audience time is. So from 7 to 7:30, this is my time that I'm allowing on Instagram. Maybe you give yourself 20 minutes at lunch, and that's your personal Instagram time. That's not business. That's just for you. But it's creating those boundaries, and it's working smarter, not harder, because we all know firsthand it can really consume your life if you're not thinking ahead and just being a little bit more proactive. And just a note with the scheduling too, I completely think, you know, all the power to people that can be flexible and schedule posts on a whim, but sometimes having that structure of a scheduler kind of just helps you feel more organized, you know?
It helps you feel more organized. You're not as overwhelmed, and you're also not spending so much time on social media. So you are giving yourself that mental break and allowing yourself to experience things in real life, feel things in real life, catch up on a show, you know, binge watch some Housewives or some Kardashians. Like, those things are all things that we can do, or you can work out. Like, it's balancing, right? And I think a lot of people don't balance or don't have a balance, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people, you know, on the internet making these negative comments, or, you know, feeding each other incorrect information about everything. That's why that's happening, is because everybody, all they do is consume social media.
Yeah, exactly. Especially now with like the lockdown and everything, when people, you know, when there wasn't social outings and things like that, I think even more so became reliant on social media to feel that connection with other people, which in turn, you know, negatives come with every positive. So, you know, it is going to be more negative comments. It is going to be more false information spread on the flip side of trying to find that connection with other people, unfortunately, during this time.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I did want to ask Miranda one last question. It is with regards to social media, but it's with regards to like beauty and wellness. Like, do you have any clients or any experiences that you've had that you've seen, like any trends or any like things that you've like noticed maybe in like the beauty and wellness like category that like really resonate with you, or like that really stood out to you?
So one client, and I'm going to give her a shout out, Crystal McGrath from Live with Love Wellness.
Awesome.
Yeah, Live with Love Wellness is the brand, but the Instagram is at Live with Love Movement. And it's like, she's a health coach, she's a female activist, she has online workout classes. So definitely check those out, because there's live classes that you can, so it has that in studio feel, and then there's also like on demand if you can't make her, total plug for her. But one thing that I've noticed with her is that she's very big in the wellness community, and she really does, going back to content, listen to what her audience is asking for. She takes feedback, you know what I mean? And like, feedback can sometimes be hard to handle, but she takes it so well. She always listens to how she can improve and how she can be more open to her clients. And she's also very fluid with her social media presence. So what I mean is, like, she's down to try a reel. She's down to do a TikTok trend. Like, she's like, you know what? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I don't like it. I delete it. Like, it is what it is. So she's not rigid when it comes to her types of posts or what she wants to post. And another thing with her, she tries to think very macro scale. So for like the month of December 2020, her focus was kindness, and how, you know, with everything going on, how can we bring a little bit of kindness each day? How can our post center kindness? We made a kindness calendar that she made, like, her participants downloaded. It was like a checklist. You know what I mean? So I think for beauty and wellness entrepreneurs on social media, I think it's about being kind of fluid and being flexible. Trying new things is definitely, and then look at the analytics after and see how it resonates with your audience. Going back to that key content of listening to your audience and what that white space, what they need answered, and being there. And kind of if they're giving you feedback, and hopefully it's constructive, because I'm hoping whatever feedback you're getting, if you're giving feedback, give it in a way that you'd want to receive it. Internet people out there, that's just like you know, give it how you'd like to receive it. And a lot of times people behind the brand, they want to know what you want to hear. Like, I'm sure both of you are so interested to what your audience wants to know more of, so you can share your content. So send them a DM, let them know what you're loving, let them know what you want to hear. So that's kind of more of a shout out to the listeners. But I feel like when, as a content creator, if you're listening to what they're asking, it just kind of comes full circle. So that's one thing is but I'm going to nail home one more time: content, and be fluid. Try reels, try TikTok. Even if you feel a little silly doing it, like, you can always delete it after. It's, you know.
That's true. That is so true. I did have a question. I kind of forgot it. Yeah, I kind of forgot it.
No worries, girl.
Like, it was actually, I think it was okay. So going back to handling like a situation where, you know, you're coming under fire for something you may have said, from a PR perspective, how would you like, what would you say would be the best way to handle a situation like that?
Of course. So I think if it's something that, you know, you were young and you did something kind of silly at 19 years old, and it's kind of come dredged up and it's people are bringing attention, I think address it for sure, and kind of make a point that, listen, like, 19-year-old me has definitely made some mistakes, and me as a person, I think and address it, but let them know that you address it, apologize, and show them how you evolved, and let them know your actions moving forward are reflecting the new you. Now, if you may have said something a little bit or done something a little bit more controversial yesterday, and, you know, maybe you stand by it, maybe that's the hill you die on because you think this is it, and like, that's it, than just like there's no PR. Like if that's what you truly believe in your heart and that's what you're going to stand for, then you kind of just have to own it. On the flip side, maybe you jumped on a bandwagon that you thought was positive but ended up being negative, and now you're kind of dealing with the repercussions. You got to own it, I think. And I think owning it, apologizing it, and making a promise to do better moving forward is huge, because actions speak louder than words. I think anybody can, make a public apology, but it's what you do afterwards with the apology, and like making conscious steps not to repeat your actions is a lot more impactful, especially in a world of social media where everything is documented. Your new steps moving forward you'll be under scrutiny even more so. So you kind of have to hold yourself a little higher, but always address it. Don't try to pretend like it didn't happen. If you can apologize for it, if you truly believe that like an apology is issued, do that. And then, make better decisions moving forward. I think everyone needs to remember too, that most of us, there's always exceptions to the rules, but I'd like to say that we are all human and we all do have errors in judgment. And I think being under the public eye or social media kind of heightens that a little bit more. Every step you take is a little bit more intense. So I think I think there's two sides to every coin. And I think if our audience needs to be a little bit more aware to that, take the lens off, kind of look at them as a real person or as your best friend. And what would you kind of say to them in that situation? But that's more of an audience directed advice.
I love that.
I love that because I feel like a lot of people, whether they're a big influencer or just one random person, I feel like everybody's kind of getting their old tweets and their old posts judged up and being having to answer to that. And I think that's good advice for anybody who's listening on how to deal with anything that they've said in the past or they've said recently that they may not they didn't mean it in the way that it came across, or it's controversial, but I think that's great advice for everybody.
And I love that Miranda said it in such specific steps. She says apologize, or rather, take ownership of what you did, apologize, and then show how you're going to be improving going forward. So I think that's a really great golden nugget to take from this podcast.
And I think too, it's so easy to get kind of wrapped up in social media and influencers and all of this, that we when we're creating content, I think a lot of people forget the pressure that as a content creators, we have to make sure we're checking off all of our, you gotta make sure you're checking off everything. And I maybe I'm a little naive, but I would like to think that majority of people in this world, when they're producing content, it isn't out of malice. And sometimes it's just simply an error of judgment. And I think we all need to kind of, there's a lot of people understand that. There has to be a little bit more compassion and just don't forget that.
I think exactly what Miranda said in terms of compassion and forgiveness. I feel like a lot of people are so easy to accuse, dismiss easy to be you did something wrong, but it's I think it takes that even bigger person to be you know what, I forgive you. I forgive you for what you did, and I know that you're trying to become a better person, and I feel like the world needs more of that for sure.
There's that famous Gandhi quote is, forgiveness is not an attribute of the weak. And I think that's something that really resonates, especially in social media culture, is being able to understand that this person if they've made one mistake, we kind of have to rally and forgive them, and exceptions to every rule, but
absolutely.
I love that.
Me too. I'm very grateful. I don't want to take too much more of your time, Miranda. I really appreciate you coming on and having us ask you some questions with regards to your brand.
Yes, and also taking the time to spill some tea and talk about the housewives.
I had so much fun.
I know, honestly, having you on the show has been such a great experience. Maybe in the future we can have you come back on and do a refresher.
Not even a question. That is an automatic
because we all vibe really well together, and totally. You really gave us a lot of information and you brought us really well today. So honestly, thank you you
Hey
so much
gorgeous,
for,
thanks so
you
much
know,
for continuing to listen.
yes,
We
like
hope you've had a great
anytime,
time so
girl,
far. Please don't
anytime.
forget to hit that
Okay.
follow or
Like
subscribe button so that you can get your
Before we
perfect
go,
blend
I
each
want
and every
to
week.
plug you.
Hit us
So
up
where
on
can people
Instagram,
reach you?
YouTube,
What is your
Spotify,
website?
Apple
What are your
Podcasts, and
handles?
anywhere you get your
Tell your
dose of
girls.
podcast.
Okay.
Yes, and what's the
Now,
best way
let's
to
get back
reach
to
you
it.
if, you know, they want to contact you and use you for, you know, their PR or marketing?
Yes.
Of course. So just the letter media, MEDIA co.com is my website. There I have just like a little breakdown of like what I do, and then also a blog, which Sarah's actually been featured on. So definitely go check that out.
Yes.
She like breaks down her story and her journey, which is so interesting. So I totally think you should give that a read. So that's my website. And then my personal Instagram, which is like, I'm not gonna lie, kind of boring. It's just MIR, Marie, MARIE _. My business account is at M Media Co. And there's like more of the business stuff. And like the best way to get a hold of me is honestly, the DMs are always great. Sending an email to miranda.furtado, FURTADO @gmail.com is also a great way. But yeah, I love like just, even if it's just to say hi or what's up, like I just love to talk. So as you can tell from this podcast.
Yes. Well, I hope you get, you know, more people reach out to you, and I hope I'm happy to see that, you know, your business is taking off, and that, you know, you have so much information to provide. So I'm
Valuable information. Like,
yes, and you know what? I wish your business the best, and I hope
Me too.
you know the next time we talk, if it's a year from now or a couple months from now, that your business is booming.
You guys are so sweet. I wish the best for you. It was so much fun. You ladies are so just fun to chat with. And I think you guys just give such a great perspective. Like, you know, the other side of the coin on a lot of things that I think a lot of people forget. You guys are just so down to earth. And I hope the next time we chat to you guys will be like, I'm so booked up with all my clients. You know what I'm saying? Not too busy for me, but
yes, of course. We would never be too busy for you, Miranda.
Never.
Okay, ladies.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you so
you so
much.
much.
All right, thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.